Hello and welcome to edupediaworld.com. So in the earlier video, we have learnt about good conductors and bad conductors of electricity. And following this, we will talk about liquids. Are liquids good or bad conductors? Can liquid conduct electricity or not? So we're going to talk precisely about liquids today. So this is the experiment that I'm going to describe to you today. Let us imagine that this is a container and I have distilled water inside the container. So what is distilled water? Distilled water is pure water. It doesn't carry any impurity. So let's say this is our tester and we have two ends of this tester. These two ends are not connected to each other. They are just dipped inside this distilled water, that is the pure water. There is no connection between these two ends, and at one end it is connected to a battery. The other end is again connected to the battery through this bulb. So why have we connected this bulb here? This is just to confirm whether there is any kind of electric current passing. That's it. So now what happens is, let's say we connect this battery and we close this circuit. When we close this circuit, what happens is the bulb doesn't glow here. In this case, the bulb doesn't glow. Why is it that even if the circuit is complete, still the bulb is not glowing? That means there is no reaction taking place when there is distilled water in the container, right? So now let's see, if we replace this distilled water, let's say we have distilled water and normal water. Now what is the difference? Let's see, I have just explained to you, I have distilled water here and the two ends are dipped inside the distilled water, and when they are connected, the bulb doesn't glow. What happens when we have normal water, that is normal tap water? What is the difference between distilled water and normal tap water? Distilled water is the pure water, whereas normal tap water is not pure. It does contain some kinds of salt in it. So it's not a pure water, right? So now when I'm dipping these two ends inside a normal water, what happens is when the circuit is complete, I have a battery here connected and I have a bulb here just to confirm whether there is some reaction taking place. So see, the current starts flowing like this and it flows till this end. But why does the bulb glow in this case? This confirms that there is some kind of connection between these two ends. And what is the connection? The connection is through this normal water. That is, the normal water makes the two ends, connect to each other. This becomes, the normal water becomes a medium for them. So that is why the bulb glows. So, and this is because it has some kind of salt in it. And if there are salt that is contained in water, then such liquids are called good conductors. Distilled water is not a good conductor, but normal tap water becomes a good conductor of electricity because it allows the electrons to pass. It allows electrons to pass through this normal water. That is why it is a good conductor of electricity. So now we have seen how distilled water reacts to electricity and how normal tap water reacts to electricity. So what have we learned? We've learned that this distilled water, because it is a pure form of water, is a pure water, so it does not allow the electricity to pass through it, and that is why a distilled water is a poor conductor of electricity. Whereas the tap water is a good conductor of electricity. Now let us talk about salt water. Let's say if I add some salt to this water, then what happens? Now that the amount of salt that is contained in this water is more than as compared to the tap water, the bulb immediately glows even more brighter, because these two ends are again connected via this water. That is because it has salt in it. So that salt actually makes these two ends connect to each other, and it allows the electricity to pass through this water from one end to another end, and that is why the bulb glows. So this confirms that not all liquids are good conductor of electricity. There are some liquids which are good conductor of electricity, then there are some liquids which are, you know, very poor conductor of electricity. So we have seen the examples also. Now, so what is the answer for, are liquids good conductors? Yes, but there are some liquids which are poor conductors also. Like distilled water is a poor conductor, and generally we have seen that solutions of acids, bases, salts, they're all good conductors of electricity, right? So when I say solutions of acids and bases and salts, we have discussed salts. You know, if you add salt, then the liquid becomes a good conductor of electricity. But when I say acid, there are examples like if you take lemon juice contains citric acid. So if you add lemon juice to the solution, what happens is it will also be a good conductor of electricity because it contains citric acid. It's an acid that is dissolved in the water. So any solutions of acid, base and salts becomes good conductor of electricity. So we're going to now discuss about the process called as electroplating. So what is electroplating? You must have seen these days a lot of cars, the logo of the cars right in front will have that chromium plating on it. The tires, the wheel tires will also have some kind of chromium. The metal of the tires will be plated with chromium, and sometimes it will be gold plated, like, you know, you can see here Nissan or the Mercedes. So all these logo, they have that gold plating, sometimes silver plating, sometimes chromium plating. So all these, you know, the decoration that is done on the cars is all done by using this process called as electroplating. Other examples are like, you must have seen the artificial jewelry. These artificial jewelry shines, and they are given that gold plating by using this process which is known as electroplating. Other examples are like at your homes, you must have seen the fridge. And how do you open the fridge? You pull that handle. So where you hold the handle, that handle has got some kind of, you know, silver plating. So that plating is again done by using electroplating. And various other decorative items are being now, you know, decorated by using this process which is known as electroplating. So what exactly is electroplating? It is a process of coating a layer of one metal surface over another metal of surface by using electricity. That is, if you have a metal and you want to decorate that metal, or you want to change the color of that metal, you want to have one more layer of another metal over this original metal, you can do this by using electricity. How you can do this, we're going to study sometime later. So, and why is this process important? It helps in avoiding corrosion. Corrosion is nothing but real rusting, you know. So if you coat one more layer on that original metal, then it can avoid corrosion. Second thing, it is very, very important and useful whenever you want to decorate any item, you want to beautify any item. And thirdly, by doing so, you increase the life of that metal. So there are three advantages of this very process, which is known as electroplating. First is to avoid corrosion, beautification or decoration, and also to increase the life of that metal, right? So I have already discussed the examples of electroplating. You must even on the left you can see in your washrooms, you can see the taps. These are all beautifully, you know, coated by this silverish layer. So this is again done by electroplating. Various other like rings you must have seen. So, and you can coat even golden, silver or chromium. Also, these are basically done by this same process. Again, coins, copper, you know, the layer of copper. So, you know, that all this is done by using electroplating. This is a very, very common example in every field. This is done in every field. So what is electroplating? We're going to discuss now. What I have shown here, just this is again let's say I have taken a tumbler, and in that I have added this water, and in the water there is some kind of acid that is dissolved in the water. So whenever I add any acid in the water, when the acids are added in the water, this solution is called as electrolyte. So inside this box, what I have is electrolyte, and electrolyte will contain positive and negative ions. Positive and negative. The red ones are positive and the blue ones are negative. I have just displayed them with two different colors so that it is easy for you to identify the ions. Now in this water, which is now known as the electrolyte, the positive ions are known as the cations and the negative ions are always known as the anions, right? And let's say I have two electrodes over here. Electrodes are also, I have marked it with different colors so that it is easy for you to distinguish. So this positively charged electrode is known as anode and the negatively charged electrode is called as cathode. So these two are electrodes over here, and I have connected these two with the bulb because the glowing and not glowing of the bulb will indicate whether there is any kind of electric current passing, right? Now see what happens. When I connect them, what happens is all the negatively charged ions, which are known as the anions, will get attracted towards the positive electrode, which is known as the anode. So all the negative will come to positive, and all the positively charged ions, which are known as the cations, will go and it will get attached to the negatively charged electrode, which is called as cathode, right? So cations come to anode and anions go to cathode. This happens because of this process which is called as electrolysis. That is, when the electricity is passed through it, then the ions are attracted to the respective electrodes. So this is what is called as electrolysis, and electrolysis will lead to, which is a process which leads to electroplating. This electrode, which is now, let's say, for example, orange in color, will slowly turn blue because these ions are blue, and this will turn into red. So I'm just giving you the color coding is just to show you how the coating will be done, but I will be explaining you what electroplating is. But this is what is called as electrolysis. This is a basic, the dry cell, how the dry cell works. This is how the dry cell works, and the entire process is electrolysis, right? So now let's move on to what is known as electroplating process. So now let us see what electroplating process is. So this is simple setup which will explain to you what the process is. So again, I have taken this is a container, and in that container, this solution that I have taken, this is a copper sulfate solution, that is CuSO4, and what the solution is known as, the solution is called as an electrolyte. We have already seen it earlier. Now again, I have two electrodes. On the left, which is a positive electrode, which is anode, this is a copper. The electrode is of copper. And let's say on the right hand side, I just have a key, which is just any metal that I have taken. This acts as a cathode over here, and then I have connected these two, that is anode and cathode, to a battery over here, and this is again the key. Though this is a simple key, key I have connected. That is, I could have connected, instead of this key, I could have connected one more, any electrode over here. But I have, just to explain to you the process, I have taken a simple key. Now this is an open circuit. If you close this circuit, the copper from here will start coming and it will start getting attracted towards the key. It will start depositing onto the key. That is because once the circuit is complete, from here, the copper ions from here will start detaching, and it will flow through this electrolyte, and it will get attracted towards the key, and it will start depositing on the key. But for this process, one thing is very, very important. You have to let this process continue for some time, because it requires some time, right? So you can see again, let's say instead of the key, if I take any electrode, let's say this is iron, or I can say copper, anything. Again, what happens when the circuit is complete? In this case, I have taken iron electrode. When the circuit is complete, the copper will start, the ions will start coming and start detaching on the carbon. So, and this is how the color will change. If you take the electrode out, the carbon electrode or the iron electrode, as in this case, out of the electrolyte after some time, then you will see some kind of copper getting, a layer of copper will come over this iron. So that is how the electroplating is done. And we already discussed that electroplating is nothing but it is a layer of one metal over another metal. So in this case, it is a layer of copper over iron. If I replace this iron electrode with, let's say, carbon, and again continue with the same experiment, keep it for some time, I will see that a layer of copper will be over carbon. So this is what is known as electroplating. The electroplating can be done on any metal, on silver, on iron, on carbon, anything. Right, the important thing is that the electrolyte has to be, like in this case I have taken copper sulfate, right? So the electrolyte has to be some kind of acid or some kind of base or some kind of salt. It has to be, then only the electricity will pass through it and we'll be able to complete this electrolysis process or electroplating process. Otherwise, as we discussed earlier, in case of distilled water, nothing will happen. It's the electroplating will not be a complete process, because it will not allow the electricity to pass through it. So next what we're going to talk about is galvanization. So what is galvanization? Galvanization is also a similar process, but it is a process of applying a protective zinc coating to steel or to iron, and this is basically to prevent rusting of that iron or of that steel. This particular method is most commonly used in the industries, big industries, and most common method to perform the galvanization is hot dip galvanization, in which whichever metal we want to galvanize, let's say steel, or let's say we want to have a coating of zinc over iron or over steel. So that particular iron or steel will be dipped inside molten zinc, and it will be taken out, and that is again a process of applying one coating over another metal. So that is known as galvanization. So I hope you would have understood are liquids good conductors and bad conductor, which all liquids are good conductors and bad conductors of electricity, which all are poor conductors of electricity. Why is that some liquids are good conductors and some liquids are bad conductors? Also, we talked about what is electrolysis, what is electroplating, and what is galvanization. So thank you for watching Edupedia World videos.